We were just looking at some of those really concerning unemployment numbers. How worried are you about the jobs picture in the United Kingdom as the furlough scheme is wound down?
Well, really worried. The jobs market is on red alert, and we're very clear that the government can't afford to stand on the sidelines and watch good firms go bust and jobs go to the wall. I think what we've seen too often is a sort of pattern of dithering, a PR announcement, rushed last-minute consultation, no planning, poor delivery. And instead, what we need is a real laser-like focus on how we protect jobs and firms and keep that demand going in the economy so that we can bounce back quicker.
The Sunday Telegraph is reporting that ministers are looking at plans for a retraining revolution to try and help mitigate some of the impact of the job losses. Is that something that you'd like to see?
Skills have a big part to play, but what we need, I think, is some bold thinking. I mean, we were I hope, central to the development of the wage subsidy scheme, that furlough scheme that has saved 9 million livelihoods, and also support for the self-employed. But what we need now is to make sure that we can reopen the economy by making sure that firms are safe. Number one, that's the quickest way to get more people back at work, but also to have a jobs guarantee and targeted support for industries. We don't want industries going off the cliff edge come October. And one thought that we want the government to consider is taking equity stakes in firms. We've seen this in France, with Renault, in Germany with Lufthansa, and of course the United States is considering it on the back of what they did back when we had the financial crash, and they took equity stakes because we know that too many firms are afraid of getting loaded up with debt. We don't want to see them go to the wall. We don't want to see people unemployed. And of course, young people in particular are really at risk in this crisis.
At the same time, though, the government's already spent billions of pounds directly paying people's wages. Figures out this week show that UK debt is now bigger than the entire economy. There is only so much the government can do, isn't there?
Well, this is not the time to take the foot off the pedal. What we know is that the furlough scheme has protected jobs. It's got a strong record, not just in this country, but elsewhere, of allowing the economy to bounce back quicker, as well as protecting working families. But what we've got to do is make sure that we avoid the cost of long-term unemployment. In fact, Angela Merkel was talking about this just this week, that she was worried that governments are not seeing the toll that would take for the long term on our economies. And, perhaps we shouldn't just be looking at the 1980s as a situation that we want to avoid and need to invest in to avoid, but this could be as bad as the 1930s if we don't get our act together and come together. We want to see the government setting up national councils. This should be a national effort for recovery and reconstruction of this country to build back better, a fairer, greener economy that delivers good jobs for people.
You mentioned a little bit earlier in the interview the need for workers to feel that they can go back to work safely. What needs to be done to convince people that they are safe at work?
Well, I'd like to see, again, the government get its act together. That test, trace, isolate scheme, where is it? We need it up and running. That's absolutely critical to the infrastructure to ensure that people are safe. We've argued, and the government agreed, that risk assessments should be published. But I'm afraid, as we published last week, that too many firms and big high-profile names have not published their risk assessments. That doesn't give me confidence, or the workforce, or the local communities that they operate in, confidence that they are taking safety seriously enough yet. And yet that is the quickest way to get people back to work and our economy back up on its feet.
Another way to get the economy back up and running is for children to go back to school as well. That isn't going to be happening until September for many, many children. And some people are laying the blame at the door of the teaching unions. Do you think that they should have done more to try and get schools back?
Well, again, only just this week, teacher and education unions have been arguing for catch up schemes over the summer. And it would be great to see the government pay attention to some of those practical ideas, drawing on the practical experience of education staff about how we can support children in this extraordinary period. But yet again, I would trace some of these problems at least back to that basic issue of meaningful consultation, involving people, getting a sense that we genuinely are all in this together and can solve the problems so that we do the right thing by our children. And that's by making sure that schools are safe. It is about being imaginative, about summer play schemes. Why did we have to fight so hard and depend on one of our footballer members to make the case for free school meals over the summer? It's common sense that we should be putting kids first, and I know that education unions are committed to that.